All right, this isn't part of the show, but we're live, and this is the intro. So
We don't even have our intro music.
I'm not even doing it because what we were talking about is show worthy, and we don't start for another 5 minutes. So I figure
this is extra bonus show for anyone who showed up in time.
All right, go ahead.
So we were talking about your unique mind and genius brain.
Dude, you're just buttering me up now. Like,
I mean, it's what we were talking about. The movie was what? Good Will Hunting we were talking about and how he's a genius. And I have told Joe, if I've told him once, I've told him 100 times, that he needs to watch Big Bang Theory because you are Sheldon Cooper. And it is like Sheldon and Penny all the time. And you don't like it, though. Even though, have you ever even seen Sheldon or know anything about Sheldon? Or
like, I'm familiar with the character, like socially awkward. Like, I don't know if you're paying me a compliment. Like on part of it, I'm like, no, that can't be what she's saying.
All right, you're not as socially awkward as he is.
And then I see like he's really connected with the scientific mathematical world. I'm like, okay, I see what she sees in me. So it all depends on how you're making the connections, whether or not I'm pissed off or you're paying me a compliment.
It's a compliment. It's extremely intelligent and disinterested in emotion.
Yeah, right.
Is him.
Yeah.
And I used to hate the show. I thought it was the dumbest show. It was not funny. I'm like, I'm not even going to watch this. This is dumb. And the only reason I got into it is when my daughter was born. Anybody who's ever had a newborn knows you're like up all night long. And I would just be up with a baby all night, and Big Bang Theory reruns were on late at night, and it just was on, and I just happened to catch it and catch it again and catch it again. Now I love it. Now I'm super into it. Now I watch the reruns on purpose, and every time I see Sheldon and Penny interact, I'm like, oh my God, Joe's got to see this.
Yeah, but why? Like, what do you want me to take from it? Just the similarities, or like,
just say, oh, this is entertaining and
let me
funny
satisfy that. Let me satisfy it. I see the similarities too, and I'm over it. All right, for those joining us, like this is just what would be an intro to the show. It's just Kelin and I talking pre-show stuff, so we don't really start for 3 more minutes. So don't even pay attention to what we're talking about.
Are we going to play our theme music?
Yeah, this is just bonus footage, like you said.
Bonus footage. Here's some bonus footage. Why is it my watch on this hole is so loose? It's flopping around. It bangs into my hand. But if I tighten it one hole, it's too tight.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like talking a millimeter in between. Way too loose and too tight. That's what I think about on a regular basis. Joe thinks about, I don't know, building rockets, physics, flat earth theory,
time travel.
And Kellen's like, why can't I get the perfect tightness of my watch?
Can I give you the philosophical? Like, I'm going to go into Socrates mode because everybody loves when I say Socrates.
Instead of Socrates?
Yes.
Socrates.
Do you know who coined that?
No.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh.
They refer to him as Socrates. And so I refer to him as Socrates.
Throwback. Okay.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, so you embarked on a health journey that lost a bunch of weight, and you're at a tweener stage where you lost a lot of your fluff that would make your watch fit tightly. So when you look at that watch, you know that it's ill-fitting because of all the choices you made that were good for your health. It's just enough negativity to let you question whether or not you don't want to down 17 hamburgers tonight when you go home. Because if you did, your wrist would fill out and your watch would fit tight. But now you get to think, man, why was this even worth it? Do I really want to be healthy? Because nature's trying to kill you. It wants you to do unhealthy things so you can redeposit all of the valuable stuff back into the earth.
Kind of like sometimes if I'm wearing a clothing item and it feels too tight and I want to take it off and put on something baggier, I'm like, no, let this feed my motivation.
Exactly.
I'm not going to eat that or else this is just going to get tighter.
Yes. So the overall theme is nature is a dick that wants you to die, right? So everything that feels bad is actually pretty good.
As if I didn't have enough anxiety already. Now nature's trying to kill me.
Always. It's its job. Like, you can't deny that nature's job is to make sure that you are not here anymore. It's giving you 1,000 reasons to not be on this planet.
Needs to renew itself.
Exactly.
Get out.
But that's its job. You have to acknowledge and you have to respect that its job is to redeposit you into the nutrients of the earth. So it doesn't care about your personality.
Like this morning, I saw a baby deer dead on the side of the road.
Right.
I really feel some kind of way about that.
All right, it's 9:00. I'm gonna, for all of you who joined, I'm gonna play the intro because this was all
Play
like
the
just us
music.
freaking talking. So here we go.
Good morning. Live from Youngstown studio. It's Youngstown's Talk Channel. Joe taking his sweet time getting his coffee from the back room.
You had to do the intro.
That's
Good
all
morning,
right.
everyone.
I nailed it. Nailed it.
All right, you were saying baby deer. So those of you just joining
Yeah.
us, we had some pre-show discussion.
Yeah, anybody who showed up early got about 5 minutes of extra show time.
of me just shitting on the microphone. Go ahead.
Ew.
I know.
How colorful.
Not a great picture.
I don't love to see roadkill. I don't think anybody does. But it was a baby deer.
Right?
With spots on it and everything, just like laying on the side of Western Reserve Road and messes
This is an
me
important
up.
topic. It
Yeah?
really is. Yeah.
Why?
We've become accustomed to watching dead things on a regular basis. It might make you feel bad,
Oh God,
but you didn't pull over and have a funeral for said deer, did you?
no.
All right. So when you see a bird on the side of the road, do you feel the same way? Raccoon, a possum.
I did see a raccoon this morning as well, and I felt for it a bit.
Okay.
Little
Now
bit.
let's just say, okay, so we all see the carnage from animal to vehicle hits on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
And we know something lost its life, and you're like, oh, that's pretty sad. And a lot of drivers just drive by it for months on end, and it just sits there, right? But let's just say it was a human being, a toddler.
God.
A toddler wanders out on the
Oh
road.
God forbid!
No, hold
Oh
on.
God!
We're just talking about nouns here, just nouns. Don't get an emotional attachment. So a toddler wanders on the road, and a toddler gets hit, and now it's just spewing entrails of.
All right, I can't.
and on
I
the side
can't
of the road.
disconnect.
How quickly would someone be on the scene to make sure that it was properly disposed of?
Real quick.
But a deer, a raccoon, or a possum, we treat differently, almost like we minimize that life over a human life. So where's our connection where we start feeling bad for the slain thing on the side of the road? I think about this all the time. Every time I'm driving, I'm like, you know what? You've let that raccoon sit there. Its entrails dissolve.
Oh God.
Its abdomen become bloated, and it explodes all over the road. And everybody's like, oh, that's pretty sad. But we wouldn't do that as you go higher up on the appreciation chart.
Yeah, like if it were a dog, if somebody hit a dog, you're probably most likely to stop than if it was a deer
cat,
or.
And then we get to raccoons, and it's like it has fur, it has a tail, has a heartbeat, has lungs, and we're like, oh, poor little raccoon.
If it was a baby, I would feel worse. Like there's something about. Obviously, we see dead deer on the side of the road all the time, and I don't like seeing that. It is sad, but when it's a baby animal, oh God, I can't. It's sad. I thought about that thing the whole way here, and I was like, "What is wrong with me?"
No, it should affect you. Living things that are no longer living anymore should put you in a little bit of a.
Especially when their life was cut short.
Yeah, they could have been doing baby deer things for at least the next 5 years.
You know what else? Like, here's how I spiral, though. And I don't know. Maybe you can explain to me why I do this.
Yeah.
I don't just say, oh my God, that's so sad. It's a baby. How sad. And leave it at that. I picture its mother. Was its mother around? Did she have to just walk away from it? Did she feel some kind of way about it? Or do animals not feel like we do? Were there any other deers that saw this? What do they do with that?
Now, would
mentally?
you think? Okay, so we project sort of like human characteristics on animals.
Yeah.
And we think the mother's like, oh my goodness, baby Bambi just went bye-bye. What if the deer, right, was like,
Yeah.
oh, that one left. I'll just make another one next season.
What if the mother
Would you
pushed
feel
it
would
into
you
traffic?
yeah, like this thing is eating all of my grain and all of my weeds and all that kind of stuff. Would you feel differently about deer if they were nonchalant about the death of their offspring? Would you? What if animals were dicks? What I used to raise chameleons. Do you know
Ew.
do you know how chameleons procreate?
No.
They rape. Okay. So chameleons rape. So in the social circles, right, we kind of say, look, we have a panda bear who's totally gay, right? So this is a natural phenomenon in, the natural phenomenon. We should see that nature's just trying to communicate with us what should be. And I'm like, dude, I raised chameleons for over a decade, right? When a
Oh God. That's gotta
Camellia
be
calopratus
disgusting.
wants to have a baby, right? It takes an unwilling female and it grapples her by the neck and basically pushes her down to the branch so she can't escape and rapes her and has sex with her. And that is the way of nature. So is that communicating how human beings should behave? Or is
Are
it
we
just a
sure
gay
the
thing?
female doesn't like this? Maybe she's into it. Just saying.
Yeah, they, limited communication with the female, but based on how I'm projecting in and how she reacts to it, she's not down with it.
So
Okay?
she looks like she's fighting it.
Oh, she's at war. Yeah,
That's
if she
terrible.
yes. So in the natural world, should we take communications from animals and think that they are of higher power
I'd
and
get
they
a
should be
stick and I'd
telling human
shoo it off
beings how
of
they
her.
should behave? Or is homosexuality in nature something that is virtuous, but chameleon rape is something that, like, oh, I can't believe they do that. They need to ring up a couple of the hierarchy rings, right?
That's why what was it? Praying mantis? Doesn't the female kill the male
Right.
afterwards?
What's nature trying to communicate there? That women should bite off the heads of their male suitors? Like, this is a dangerous game when you play that shit
I wonder
with
why
me,
they do that.
because I will take it to its ultimate conclusion and make you look really stupid when you take something as brutal as nature and make it an evidence that human beings should behave like a natural thing. Like,
I remember
you don't want to go there.
We have a dog. We have a golden retriever, and we got him from a breeder. And I remember when we went to get, I went to pick up the puppy, and I was talking to the mother dog.
Yes.
And I was like, thank you for your baby. We'll take really good care of him.
Mm.
Like, I was just feeling like we're kidnapping her children. And I said, oh God, I almost feel bad to do it. Like, I'm just taking her puppy. And the breeder said, trust me, she's ready for them to go. And I was just like,
So here's what's going to make it
I never
nice.
even thought of that.
So they're working on now being able to interpret communications from animals and translating it so that human beings can say what they're thinking and saying and whatever. If you were able to hear the attitude of the mother of that dog, and that dog was like, if you don't take this stupid thing that all it does is bother me,
It's like up
I'm
my
gonna-
ass
I'm going to
constantly.
freaking eat it. Right? You would not be having a conversation with it like, oh, I'm going to take your little baby, because you're assuming it cares for the baby. It wants it to be around. It's going to miss the baby when it's gone. But in reality, I can almost guarantee you that dog is a dick. And everything it's saying will make you think, man, that's the biggest. But I think all dogs are dick. I think bears are dicks. I think deer are dicks. I think all lower life forms that are not human beings are completely primitive and dicks. I do.
All the time?
All the time.
You
I
don't
think whales are
they're
dicks.
ever, like,
I think sharks are dicks.
caring, or-
No, you look in the eyes and the souls of animals, and they're only interested in preservation, and that's it. They have babies because to propagate the species. But if it's
You've
like,
never had a dog that seemed to care for you?
I'm sure that they have some evolved feelings, but not like human feelings.
Well, no, not
No.
the same, but
Right.
something.
And so, and that's why I want you to hear the thoughts of those animals so you can properly communicate back with them. And if your attitude changes at all, right,
Mhm.
then I'm right and you're wrong. If you're like, man, that was kind of like when I was talking to that dog and that dog was sharing their inner thoughts with me, I don't even like that dog anymore. I think that dog would not be invited to my birthday party at all.
So there's a video online that's circulating of a woman. She just got fired from a grooming company because she was beating this dog, like was real aggressive and slamming it down because it wouldn't stand or do what she wanted to do while she was grooming it.
Yeah.
Would you fire that lady and hate that lady, or would you be like, that dog's probably a dick?
A dick, yeah. Like, well, you would need more information. You would need to know, what if that dog was an absolute asshole? And
no, you can watch the whole video of what it was
I would say it would
doing
be, if we're going to project human interactions, right? And then if you met somebody on the street that was a total dick to you, said certain things to you, tried to bite you, whatever, what would be your a reasonable response from a human being to a human being? If that dog was any of those things, then you can argue that it was, it hated women, right? A lot of dogs hate women and they bite them because they just don't like them. Should that dog be pummeled, right? If a guy does that to a woman, I mean, what's your feeling on how that man should be treated? I'm feeling that you might have some pummeling in your.
What
attitude.
if it's the opposite? What if we figure out what animals are thinking and they all are just this pure, loving, aiming to please, kind being, but they can never communicate that because they're
like a golden
animals.
retriever. Nobody would beat a golden retriever because you can just tell that they're awesome.
Well, that's what I have, and sometimes he is a dick.
So even
100%
on days, like you're a dick too. Like as a human being, you have your moments. So golden retrievers are, we afford them the same kind of graces that we would another human being.
Yeah.
But we kind of elevate subspecies, things that are just there to be our food, right? Just there to do our hunting. They're tools, utilities of the alpha species, which is human beings. Everything else is just to serve us. We are dominating over those other species, and we should play that role and do it well.
And we definitely have a bias towards the cute ones because
we project.
Yeah, when I was up at Lake Erie over the 4th weekend, I don't know what the heck was going on, but there were just hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these tiny little black flies that were dead in the water, just everywhere. You couldn't move in the water without these flies just getting on your paddleboard or your raft or whatever. I in no way cared that these flies were dead. I was just like, ew, get them away. But a deer, I'm like, oh God, poor deer.
All right, so let's just say evolutionary biology does what it's supposed to do, right? And it rewards species that look cute, and then they eat you, right? Their whole existence is to be cute, so that you let down your guard,
kitty,
and then they eat you.
Mauled.
Now, they only did it, they manipulated, they knew that human beings will respond differently if they're cute, so that you have a little spider that is the most toxic spider on the planet, and it develops a flowery pattern, right? Because you're like, oh, look at the spider, and then they jump out at you on your face, and they bite you in your eyeballs because that's painful, and you die, and then they consume your whole body. Now the cute spider species, right, is now a predator of human beings, and what they preyed upon was your willingness to think they were cute. That's why nature is a dick, because it preys on your vulnerabilities, and if your vulnerabilities, it's so cute, it'll prey on those as well. That's just science.
How do you feel about when you see videos of like large gorillas interacting and they seem very human-like?
Yeah.
Do you think they are, or are we still just kind of projecting that we think we know what they're doing?
So you jump into the cage with the silverback gorilla, right? And a silverback gorilla says, I'm primitive thing, and there's some stuff that I'm human-like, but I'm going to come over, I'm going to rip your arm off, and I'm going to take your arm, and I'm going to beat you with it till you're unconscious. And then I'm not going to eat you because I'm an herbivore and I don't eat meat. But I'm going to kill you because I don't know if you're a threat. I don't know what you are. I'm really confused, but you're dead now. And now the human being's like, that was pretty stupid, because what you did was you thought you were going to go down there, and that gorilla was just going to know that you have no ill intentions. You're not going to harm it, whatever. So when the gorilla comes to a conclusion that you're a threat, are you going to hold it against it because you decided to give it human attributes that now it used primitive attributes and killed you with your own arm? I know that's pretty stupid.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, any animal, even a dog that is someone's pet, you don't ever fully trust it, ever. Even my own pet, I would never fully trust. You don't get in their face. You don't do dumb shit. But it is interesting to see, like we've all seen those videos where a gorilla has a baby or like is interacting with a human through glass or something. And you're like, oh my gosh, they are so similar to us. Maybe they think the way we think.
They're okay. We have the ability to know what's a human being and what's not a human being. Okay. So just put it on your rule book. Number one, there are enough human beings that have already human characteristics. You do not have to take the animal kingdom and elevate anyone to be human, right? You can deal with them in the utility of what they present. What are they for? How can you use them? So if a gorilla usefulness to human beings is nothing, cool. Keep your distance from them. Put them in zoos. You can go look at them. That's their utility. They're fascinating, right? But to make them more than that, like, am I going to go to a gorilla and be like, oh, he's very human. Let me make the gorilla my secretary.
Let me hug
right?
him.
Versus taking a real human being that does not have to have so many accommodations and just make a human being your secretary and let the gorilla just be a spectacle so you can throw bananas at them. That's it.
Do you ever see those oh God, what's the company? The ASPC, whatever commercials
yes.
with the dogs and do you feel some kind of way? You're like,
no,
those
it's
dogs
for women.
are dicks.
Women, that is for women completely, right?
Tear at your heartstrings and get money.
Let's do the Sally Struthers. Like, we'll even use human beings.
Yeah.
At that. So we'll use human beings, and we'll go down to Willie Nelson and all the other like these dogs need you kind of thing. So is it easier to take a dog that was left in a backyard that's emaciated, that hasn't been fed in 3 weeks, right? That barely has water, only what the rain can collect, and is out in the cold all day. It's really easy to feel bad for that dog, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's just, it's being held there against its will. It's not being treated very well. It's easy to feel bad for that. And then you take a child that hasn't been fed in 3 weeks, and they're sitting in a living room with a crackhead parent. And if you had $1 in your hand and you had a choice to either give it to help the kid or the dog, which do you think is easier to get a person to make a charitable donation, the dog or the human being? Which do you think is easier?
God, in general, I bet you people give it to the dog.
Yeah, for 100%.
Like, my brain is screaming. The obvious decision is the child. Help the child.
Yes.
But then you think of the general public in situations,
why
and
is
you're
that?
like, the general public's going to have questions. They're going to have a dialogue about the child. They're going to have all these roadblocks or things that come into play. Whereas the dog, they're just, oh, that's sad. Take my money.
If you have $1 and you want to put an order of priority, who's more important, you're going to have more requirements for the human being than the dog. In the dog, you're going to give in the blind and hope that some of it gets to the dog. The one, you're like, well, what about the parents? And why aren't the school districts? And what about the police? And what about their parents? And like, I'm not giving the $1, and so the
dollar's going to be pointless.
So why is it that we have too many stipulations about helping the child? And both are noble. Helping both are good. But if I have $1 and I want to prioritize, and you help all the kids first, then you're not going to have time. The dog in the backyard is going to die, right? And the kid from the crackhead parents are going to live because human beings have a higher priority over human beings other than cats, dogs, cows, horses, dinosaurs. 100% of the time. That's how it should be. That's just how nature works.
I still think maybe they're not all dicks.
What, dogs aren't dicks?
Animals.
Yeah. Animals are dicks. They are. They lack what human beings have, and they're all dicks. They have to be because they are primitive beings, right? And we don't have to kill them. Like, I'm not saying let's do a mass execution of all dick dogs, right? But I'm saying that if you want to incorporate them and have them next to you and filling the role as your secretary, it's going to be a letdown. They're not going to be a great secretary. They're not going to be a good mate. They're going to use you for what you give them. All right, try training a dog without treats, right?
Yeah.
Just do it out of their moral obligation to you as another being, and see if a cat, when you pass away, won't eat you versus you eating the cat. Like, if one of you died and you were super hungry and the cat died, you'd be like, I can't eat the cat. The cat's too precious, right? But the cat's like, oh, my owner died. I'm fucking hungry. I'm going to nibble those toes and I'm going to eat you whole. So who's the dick in this? Who's the dick?
So Jerry says, Kelin and Joe, off topic. Why is it that that gas on one side of town is $2.85, but other sides of town are at $3.29? Along with that, why does the price fluctuate daily when the gas in the tanks at the station is sold to them at the price it is upon delivery that day? It's not like they are filling the station's tanks daily at different prices.
It's a good question, and we talked to Paul Leyden, who he was an Amoco dealer. He sells gas to gas stations, and there are a couple of different gas markets that do deliveries. Like if you have a big chain of Shell stations or Sheet stations, they go through a lot of gas. Okay, so usually their pricing is more competitive because they're buying market, and that price distributes to all of their gas stations. So let's just say oil prices. Fuel refining drops, they reflect their the current cost over what they just filled the tank with in really short succession. If you have a gas station like Bob's gas station, all right, he might buy it, but he doesn't do the volume that the other gas stations do. So his costs are higher because he doesn't deal in volume, and the gas sits in his tank for longer, and he might buy less than the other companies. So he's at a market disadvantage against the chains. Now he has to charge more, almost like if you had a person buying 1,000 hard drives versus one hard drive, the guy that's doing 1,000 got a better deal. So if he cuts his rate down, he still has margin. The guy that paid only a little bit less than retail might be at the retail cost. When you compare the two, it's not a matter of the end product. It's the volume that you were able to purchase. So smaller named gas stations are almost always going to be at a cost disadvantage to chains. Second thing is the competitiveness between gas stations. Let's just say, I don't know this is real, so I'm just going to make it up. This is all metaphoric. So let's just say Shell gas station has a special blend that's supposed to do XYZ, and the cost of that blend is more expensive to manufacture. Let's just say they use recycled gas from old tractors across the country, and the production of that fuel is just more expensive. So the 87 that comes from Shell, that comes from tractor, reclamation, versus Sheets that just bought it directly from the regular refining process, means that Sheets might be $2.89 because their gas was vanilla. And the Shell one, and I'm sorry, Shell, if I'm wrong about all of this, they might be $3.12 because it wasn't just the exacting same product at the end of the day. When you put fuel in your tank, you have no idea if you're buying the exact same gas, like you test it and it said, oh, this came from a distribution center that's on, Salt Springs Road. And then this one came from one that came from Cleveland. So all of that stuff enters in what the operator pays to fill their tank. And then they go out there and they set the price at margin with what they paid for that product. Now, if the station across the street has a price that's higher or lower than theirs, they may adjust theirs to become equal or lower than the price that's across the street. The one that's down the block that has one gas station, there's no competition with whatever, and you're buying it and they're selling through it, they might be priced at a different level than the competitive gas stations where there's one across the street, right? And
if you think you will get a good bit of business based on your location.
Yeah, if you're not selling out and you have enough, why would you lower your prices?
Yeah.
You're selling enough. So there might be an elevated price because they and scarcity is another thing. Like gas station operator is like, we're at half a tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our next filling is a month from now. So I got to make that gas that's in my tank last a really longer. So I raise my price so that you won't fill up, and it will preserve the scarcity of what I have to get me through until it's time to fill up that tank again. And I will tell you, most fuel stations do not make money on gas at all. The fuel, they want you to come in and buy the convenience items and all the other stuff. They break even on the fuel sales.
So they're like snacks and coffee.
That's where
and
they
other
make
little
their money.
things.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
They will break even or lose money because everybody needs fuel. And while you're there, you buy the other stuff, and that's where they make their money.
So like a Sheets makes money off of everything inside that there is to get and do.
Yeah.
Gas is just...
It brings you to the store. That's your loss leader.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when Sheets first came around here. I'm that old. I remember my friends and I would go there like at night and get food. And my dad would always say, gas station food? ew. And I was like, no, not this gas station. This has good food. And it was like so exciting to go and do the made to order things. And
they've conditioned you properly to buy the things they make money on.
they're like,
right?
well, you don't have to get gas. Just come in and do this.
Yeah, they don't
That's
care.
where we're going to make the money.
The gas is an annoyance to them. But if it gets you
Wow.
there and buy your other shit, that's why they do it. I'm sorry for swearing so much today. That's off brand, I'm sure.
Nah,
No, it's not off
that's
brand.
kind of our thing.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the real stuff. We're going to talk about math today because,
Oh,
and I know
great.
you love
Screwed.
freaking math.
Oh, I love it.
I'm starting a conspiracy theory channel separate from what we do here, but I'm going to record what we do for the live feed. It's not going to be part of the recorded feed, but we're going to use it on our other channel for conspiracy theories. And I'm going to bring you in on this, right?
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is sort of like qualify what is a conspiracy theory to know what it is Joe's going to talk about.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
to you, definitionally, what is a conspiracy theory?
To me, I feel like a conspiracy theory is a theory about something that the something is true. That there is something that happened. There's enough truth in whatever it is you're talking about to be plausible. It's most likely not. Maybe there's not a lot of factual information to back up your theory, but there's enough substance there to make it plausible enough to consider, even though most likely it's not the case. Does that make any sense?
That's perfect. And the only thing that I'm going to push back is the insistence that because it doesn't have a majority of probability, that it needs to be dismissed, right? We don't do that anywhere else. We don't say that it has to be 100% certain in order for us to make it believable.
Right.
We believe in playing the lottery that you could win, right? When it is
Yeah.
probability is very minuscule that's the case. But everybody who plays isn't like, I'm probably not going to win. It's probably not going to be me. I've got a 0.000005% chance.
But you're telling me there's a chance.
Exactly. So our conspiracy flavor is going to be things that are more probable than zero, right? That have a figment. And we're going to rate them, right? I have 4 categories drafted up and giving all conspiracy theories. Now, there's a lot of different things that have taken on the conspiracy theory role that aren't what I consider conspiracy theories. So a conspiracy is where more than one people get together, right? And they decide to do a thing, right? To hoodwink other people. And that's
They conspire against something.
And that's when conspiracy theories were just the kooky people, right? Where because they were insisting on something that had no merit, and it was just a bunch of people who are like, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to dress you up in a Sasquatch suit, and we are going to go walk along Interstate 80, and a bunch of people are going to take pictures of the Amazonian woman in a Sasquatch suit. Now Sasquatch is real. We conspired to make something that was not real, and we tricked people into thinking that it was real. That is a conspiracy theory.
Amazonian woman.
We're going.
I wish I could say that's the first time someone called me an Amazon. It's not.
We're not doing those ones. We are doing things, and the way that I look at conspiracy theories, and we did this during COVID. We do this for political, conflicts. We look at math and probabilities. All right, and so for instance, I'll give you an example. Everything we talk about pressures a lot, right? There has to be a pressure on one side and a pressure on the other side, and then you have confidence in something. So if you had a bank, right, and the bank had money, there's a pressure for people to take that money. On the other side of that, there's pressure for people not to take that money, installing cameras, having oversight, doing drawer countdowns, and whatever. So you have confidence in a bank that the teller at the front desk isn't going to load up her pockets and take money out the door. So you have a percentage chance. Like, what is the percentage chance that there would be a temptation to take the money out of a bank if you could get away with? 100%, right? Cash of money. You like money. Money's there. 0% chance getting caught. You take money, right? Temptation.
Okay,
Not doing.
all right. I guess there'd be a
100%.
temptation.
So
yeah.
if there is an adequate, what
you
did I
bumped
do?
the mouse. You're good. You just need to. There you go.
You disturbed my. I was
that was gonna bother me.
Freaking mid-rant.
All right, you would take the money, or at least be tempted to.
But the pressures mean that it reduces the temptations down. What is the probability that someone, sort of like entertains that temptation and actually takes the money? Well, the likelihood that you get caught, that you get outed, you get fired,
go to jail,
right? And you basically control the limitations on making it less likely. So in the insurance field, they use an actuary that takes mathematics and finds out the probability of something happen, and they skew the numbers in a direction where there's a pressure that a hurricane will happen, and then there's a premium that will cover that action from happening, and you have a balance between the two. If it gets skewed where more hurricanes are happening than premiums, then they lose, and if you have more premiums than hurricanes, then nobody will buy your insurance, and so there's a balance between those two. And so I love conspiracy theories because none of them I ever go into it with sort of like a bias where I want something to be true, right? I want to just weigh the factors and the variables. Do you like algebra, by the way?
No. Why? God, no.
What about algebra do you not like?
I don't understand it. It's math. I get confused. I don't know how to do it.
Okay. There's two ways to sort of weigh the physical world.
Okay.
Things you can count, right? You have numbers. I have one set of eyeglasses. Then you have the abstract measurement of measuring the void. Okay.
The variable.
Yes. So you don't have enough information to know that there's an eyeglass. So if I gave you this table and I put it on a scale, right? And I gave you the weight of this. And then I put eyeglasses and gave you the table with something else. Well, you don't know it's eyeglasses, but you know that it weighed more than it did before I put the eyeglasses down. So now it's a pursuit to find out what lives in the void, the unknowns and the variables. So algebra is basically giving you enough information and context to start drawing conclusions about what the variable could be. Doesn't mean that it is. Like, if I gave you the weight of this, then you can take the weight that I added and create a list of things that weigh about that much, right? And you can get pretty close as having the glasses as being an option, but you can't be certain that it's glasses, only that it's in a pool of possibilities or those probabilities that you talked about. So that's what, conspiracy theories are, is it's looking at the void of obscurity and trying to ferret out information that could be. So you can do this, everything from Trump being on the Epstein list. Is it a factor? Is it a possibility?
Yeah.
All right, how do you know that it's not a possibility, or how do you know that it's a possibility?
I think it's a possibility based on information you have, as like, they had some form of...
They knew each other.
Yes.
Okay,
some relationship where they knew each other.
Okay.
That's factual. They knew each other.
Were they both wealthy?
Yeah.
And do wealthy people usually hang with other wealthy people?
Yeah.
Political connections. Were they both politically connected? Were they both financially connected?
Yeah.
So there are things that doesn't necessarily mean that I hung out with someone, but probability wise, it's not zero.
You could even take like some of the things he has said about women that were off color.
Do you think that Trump is attracted to beautiful women?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that he's crass about how he describes women, has relationships with women? Do you think he crosses lines on what is the virtuous side of relations with women?
Yes.
Yes. So we are adding to probabilities that say he was in the sphere. He behaved a certain way that would be analogous with people who also... Now, do we know that he jumped into the temptations of being with underage girls? Do we know that?
No.
All right. Could we know that? What would make you convinced that he partook in that?
If I saw evidence, camera footage,
would it be just having sex with an underage girl, or would it be just being in the same room as an underage girl, or writing love letters to him? What would it take to say, yeah?
Yeah, I'd have to like if there were like phone records where you could hear conversations of what happened, that would be a giveaway. If there were camera footage of anything.
That's a little too far. If he had sexual talk with someone versus having a physical action, aren't those two different things? So if I wrote you a love letter that was sexually explicit, and then everybody on the outside world,
he was talking to someone else about and saying he did this. Maybe we're talking about two different things.
Okay, all right. So I basically told my buddy, right, I totally had sex with Kelin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean I had sex with Kelin?
No.
Or is there a possibility that I was just bragging?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what would real evidence be that I had sex with Kelin? If you went and told somebody that we had sex and I said we didn't, is it 100% certain that I did or you did?
No.
Okay. What would be certainty then?
If there was proof that it happened, like,
what would that be?
I mean, there could be camera footage. There could be, oh, this is getting gross. There could be, sometimes there's bodily fluid.
Okay. So
evidence.
if I said I had sex with Kelin and Kelin said I had sex with Kelin, is that certain?
I wouldn't say it's certain, but it's more likely.
It's a higher probability.
Highly likely, yeah.
Because it's still possible that you and I conspired and said, we're going to tell everybody that.
Exactly.
So what I know is, the only thing I do know is that you both said it. I don't know that you both did it without the evidence of it actually happening.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the conspiracy is knowing the difference between what you know and what you really don't know, and what true 100% certain evidence. Otherwise, you're playing with a percentage probability, and you still have to be sort of humble enough to know that you might not be right. So then you forming a conclusion based on something that you don't have a certainty of would be a bad decision, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think about this when you think about like those high profile court cases where the jury's told you have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this happened. And I'm like, what about someone like me that always has doubt? Like, there's got to be a little doubt. And it could be like, the murder weapon had prints on it next to DNA on their clothing, next to a letter stating, I did this,
just a probability.
Yes.
Not a certain. So do you trust the courts?
Probable.
Do you trust the courts?
Sometimes.
No.
Sometimes.
We do not trust the courts.
Usually.
Why do you trust the courts? Because lawyers trust the courts and judges trust the courts.
I mean, it depends on what court and what situation.
No, courts in general. Like, can they be trusted mathematically? What are the pressures of the courts? Do you think? I think
they're pressured to get an answer. And like, let's wrap this up. Get us a person that we can hold accountable for this.
Bullshit. That is not
You
true.
don't think they get pressured for that?
No, listen.
I do.
Listen. If, and this would be the measure whether or not courts are reliable and trustworthy. Our courts, in their mission statements, what is the purpose of a court? If it is to find truth, right, then you can trust a court because it will always pursue ultimate truth over all things. Is that what a court is? No. What it is a format of mediation. So the judge is there to basically enforce the rules of the court. And then you have a prosecutor and you have a defense that they play a role in mediating a disagreement. So if I'm a really good lawyer, I'm not there to, if I'm, so I'm representing a murderer, right? What's my goal? What's my job? To make them innocent, not to find truth. Like, what if a prosecutor and a defense attorney were on the same team? Both of them just wanted to find truth. One would be charged with finding all the reasons that they're innocent, and one would be found guilty. But if any of them, if the prosecutor came up with a truth that exonerated, right, he'd be like, nope, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to prosecute this guy. I ran into a probability that it wasn't him. I'm not doing this anymore. What if the defense attorney was like, holy shit, like I just came across a piece of paper that put the probability super high. I'm not defending. So it is not a platform for ferreting out truth. Right. It is just to mediate a disagreement. And if you have, and I feel because they're human beings that are doing all of this, there is more inaccuracies and lies and fallibilities in what goes through a court that when you look back and say to the general public, I would buy into courts if all they were trying to do was find an ultimate truth. Because if you did do something, you'd be like, I have full faith. This is a perfect system that is going to make sure that because I didn't do it, I'm not going to jail.
You know what I find so interesting is to this day that we still swear in people in court, like put your hand on a Bible and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Like, do you think that holds any weight for people that want to lie?
No, just like hearings. Like, let's do a hearing with Dr. Fauci. And we're like, okay, yeah, he was involved in something that's illegal. Where's the handcuffs, dude?
Yeah.
Handcuffs?
I can't believe we still do that.
It makes us feel good. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you swore you would tell the truth. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. What happens in your 5-year-old if like you don't eat your broccoli, you are going to bed early. And they're like, okay, Dad, like I'll eat my broccoli. And then you don't eat the broccoli and they don't have to go to bed. And they're like, oh, okay.
Or they throw it in the garbage can.
Yeah.
All done.
But anyway, so our system is effed up because we tolerate this complete. If you had, okay, so what would you tolerate in the margin of error of things? Like what's acceptable to you? So if voting had a margin of error and the amount that you paid for something had a margin of error and the justice system had a margin of error, what is like reasonable to expect that's just a part of the math on large scale items?
And I don't want it to be very big. I don't know.
So if you said that voter fraud was 5% margin of error, would that be acceptable to you? So it means that of 1 million, right? 5% of 1 million is still 50,000 people, right?
Yeah.
So 50,000 votes of fraud, would that be acceptable to you?
Because when you say 5%, I think, oh, that's not bad. But when you say what it is, it's like, God dang.
50,000. That means if you have 1,000 polling locations, that 50 of the people that came through there shouldn't have voted. Is that a margin of error that's acceptable? I'll tell you what the answer is here.
I mean, I don't like it, but I guess it could be worse.
Okay, so here's the deal. You would be okay with that as long as it can be articulated that there are pressures that try to make that number lower. And you would be outraged if there were people that were pushing on to make that margin higher. So let's just take polling location 1AC, right? I just gave it a name. And I know out of the people that vote there, that 50 people, every time that we have an election, 50 people that shouldn't vote there. So I'm going to charge you then, Kelin, as the director of that polling location, to see if you can get 49 people rather than 50 then this time. Could you put together a plan that says, okay, what would you be interested in as the director of that polling location?
What would I be interested in to avoid this from happening?
Yeah.
I'd want to know what measures we're taking.
Well, first you'd want to know, like, how are people cheating? That'd be the first one.
Yeah.
Is it
how'd they get by?
Exactly. So we have things in place, and obviously 50 people got by. How'd they get by? I'd be super interested in finding out how they're getting by. And then you're given the information, so now you have more variables answered in your conclusions. Now you can create, sort of like an active plan to then get it from 50 to 49. And if you get it from 49 and you go to 48, and can you get to 0? Probably not. But can you do things that get it to be a lesser number than it was the last time? And that with the voting public then trust you that you're trying to get it right. Even if there's flaws, you're actively trying to make that a lesser number.
Yeah, you're doing something.
So the people that you trust have a theory on how to make it a lesser number. The people you distrust are trying to say, no, don't question the number, right? Or
don't even look at it.
Don't even show ID.
Yeah.
Or let's have a Dropbox that just lets random people. And you as the director would say, well, no, that plan is going to make my number bigger, not smaller. What interest does that person have to try to make my number bigger than it was before? If the snapshot was 50 and reasonable people say it's good but could be better, then everyone who's on the side of making that a smaller number is my friend and I trust. And everybody that's interested in either not paying attention to the number or making it a bigger number is a fraudster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the mathematical certainty, is you can always tell who wants more of something and who wants less of something based on what they're willing to push on.
Yeah, what's their motive?
Do you want to know whether or not Trump was on the Epstein list? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You're my friend. Okay. Are there people who want us to stop looking at the numbers so that we don't want to know?
Yep.
And are there people that want to know? And so there are more Democrats that are my friends right now than Republicans, right? Because if the hint is that Trump might be there, then all of a sudden Republicans are like, hold up. Maybe we don't want to know.
Yeah. It's like, but, if things are going really well and knowing this could make them not go well, let's just not know that.
Reasonable people just want to know because we're not on your effing team.
Yeah.
Right? We're not trying to like skirt the numbers to make, we want to know unless something we don't like is what we know. Math people don't effing care. We just want to freaking know.
I'll say I don't want him to be because I think if he is, shit hits the fan and we're in a bad way. So I don't want people of power to be on that list and watch the chaos ensue. But we should know.
100%.
Yeah.
In its entirety. And are there, like we're talking about the pressures. So how does this work? If let's just say we have a governing body of 600 people in the legislature, what your guess, your opinion, Kelin's own biases, how many people of those 600 people are either directly related or directly involved or related to the people who are involved that know about it and are covering it up? What would you say percentage wise?
God, probably at least half.
You think 50%?
More than half.
So elections can have a 5% margin of error, right? And it's reasonable, but we want it lower. But if 50% of the people either are directly involved or whatever, do you think that number needs to be more like 5%? Because honestly, if you said in Congress, there's 5% of the people who behave badly and need the fund to pay off sexual, assault charges in Congress, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about reasonable. And let's even make it lower.
Yeah.
But if there's 50%, you can take the wrecking ball to the entire institution as far as I'm concerned, because it's so polluted. Do you know you're right though?
No.
Okay. Am I right? Like, what would we have to go on?
Our hunches.
Okay. Tell me more about it. What makes you believe that 50% of the people are connected with bad behaviors in Congress? Let's do it like an actuary would.
I've never seen anyone face an actual consequence. I've never seen anyone point out something that is a wrongdoing and the person who did the wrongdoing faces a serious consequence.
Okay, so there's no punishments.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to punishments, do we have friendly people who help you cover up your misdeeds, and the institution itself obscures those misdeeds?
Yeah.
Right? All right. So probabilities are high that if there was hypothetically something that went down, would you have everyone throwing those people under the bus or likely to lay down cover fire to make it go away? All right. High probability, if I were to guess, would say that I would cover for you.
Yep.
Unless the only way that I wouldn't cover for you is if I had a repercussion to pay. So if I wasn't going to get reelected because I covered for you, I have an incentive, a pressure to be able to out you because I was going to live and you were going to die. And I feel like there are a lot of self-preserving people in Congress.
Yeah.
Right. And so if I'm on this SEAL Team 6 of outing what's going to happen, like I'm going to start conspiring to put people at odds with one another. So they feel now they're threatened to cover for you, which means that they're no longer want to cover for you. So if a bank robbery, we did the bank robbery, right? And both of us know that we robbed the bank, but the police don't have no evidence whatsoever. How am I going to get you to out me? And how am I going to out you? How are they going to get me to out you? And that is, we have to create odds against one another. Separate rooms, having a conversation. They're going to come to you and say, oh, well, Kelin is singing like a bird, right? She's telling everyone we offered her immunity, so she's not even going to go to jail. But you, my friend, took a little bit longer to talk. And now you're going to go to jail and she's not. So if you want to not go to jail, like it's easier for us to prosecute and we'll give you a leniency if you just tell on yourself. Now we have law enforcement that are lying to two people to put them in odds one another. So we tell on each other and then we both go to jail.
Yeah.
Prisoner's dilemma. Anyway.
Is that legal? I'm sure I know it happens, but is it legal for a cop or somebody to lie to you and say
100%?
That's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting because I could totally see a defense attorney saying they lied to my client and scared him to make him say what they wanted to hear.
Illegal lie.
I know, but I could see that it doesn't sound like a smart tactic if the defense attorney just says, my client also lied just to tell them what they wanted to hear because they were scaring him.
Sure.
So it's like, that's kind of just a catch-22 way of doing things.
But it's all upside. So if you say I didn't do it, which is the 99% of what everybody's going to say, if you say anything other than I didn't do it,
now
and people have a
doubt.
Like me, we rant, right? And so they're going to say shit that's going to give them more information to fill in more of the formulation that then they can use against this very orchestrated and choreographed psychological endeavor, the SEAL Team 6 of investigations, that's going to figure out what really happened based on the complete void of information. If you start playing congressman from Oregon versus the congressman for Maine, and you put them in two rooms and you try to ferret out information and let what they say different and the information they add on because they can't shut their freaking holes. If you can't get an entrapment going on people who can't shut their face holes, right? Then you have no investigative ability. You have no psychological prowess. You could box every one of those douchebags right into their corners and find out exactly what they do by having smart people regulate the idiots that are in Congress. Am I showing my bias against people in Congress? I think so. Late great Congressman James Traficant would have disagreed about consequences. Disagreed about consequences
because he faced consequences, but that's sort of a different scale than this.
Why?
I'm talking about people like presidents, their inner circle. I think when they have that level of power, like how often do we see two people of that level pointing fingers at each other, accusing each other of something, and then it just sort of fizzles out as if they got together and said, we both know you can't admit to this, or I'm going to tell everyone about this. And they're like, all right. And then like things just get dropped and stopped at that level, which is why
do you know why that is?
Because they're all corrupt in one way or another. They all have dirt on each other.
Okay. So there isn't a balancing principle. Right. There isn't a third party that's not complicit in the conspiracy of cover up.
Yeah.
So if it was someone who didn't like you and they were your critic and they were going through the evidence and they wanted to do something, but who's investigating? The people who are involved, right? Who's deciding punishments? The people who are involved. Mm-hmm. So long somebody sees and says, okay, well, everybody here is complicit and everybody here is the oversight, then that is wrought with corruption because nobody's going to tell on them.
Yeah.
The FBI audits themselves and finds out they're innocent every time. Almost like if you had this is a perfect example. Traffic tickets are now, we're going to do that. We're going to do self imposition, right? Because cops are busy. They're doing other things. They're not sitting and just trying to tag people for traffic stops for speeding, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's going to be the driver. The driver gets himself into sees the radar gun come up and says it was a 35 and that definitely says 52, right? So now it's your job to self-impose. Your job is to say, F yeah, like I was freaking speeding. So what they do is on the little camera, they have a little self-serve ticket writing
like
kiosk.
a QR code where you could just...
So you go up to it and you're like, you put your name down, you put the infraction down, you put what you should pay. And then you're going to walk up there and you're going to say, you know what? I'm a bad dude. I went 12 miles over the speed limit or whatever it was. And you know what? $100 is what I should freaking pay. And I sign that effort and everybody's like, yeah, justice. But then there's a dude who walks up to it and says, oh, I get to self-regulate? I don't think I should be penalized at all. And I'm not going to send this in. And I'm going to like really not do anything at all.
Yeah.
There's no pressures to do it. So why would you? So Congress is basically self-imposing that they can fail every audit, break every law, and we might have a hearing because the people that vote for us have to see that we're doing something, but the hearing doesn't actually do anything, right? You just have to make a public spectacle that you had some kind of justice. And all of us will like grab our pitchforks and torches and say, look, another Fauci hearing, right? And then it never connects to anything, but we're okay with that. The hearing was good enough to satiate our outrage that Fauci got away with it. But Fauci could write a book, he could run for office, he can be put in government again, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's not a felon. He didn't have to pay for any of his crimes. He'll absolutely do it again and seek to prosper, right? Because he was never held to account for the things that he did wrong. There are people in this audience right now that would vouch for Fauci right now and make him into some kind of virtuous dude when he was a dipshit. He was the dog. He's an asshole.
He's that dog.
He is.
I don't know. I like dogs better, I think.
Yeah.
Dogs like, don't compare him to us.
Yeah, right. I'm lovable. All I do is shit on the carpet.
And then all they got to do is take someone maybe on a little lower level, consequence them. Look, see, justice served. We don't let people get away with stuff. Yes, you do. Just deflects off of you.
For sure. So a protected class of people who the law doesn't apply to. So let's talk about prisons. Since I don't really have a lot of respect for our court system, our justice system, means that I also think that people are in prison that shouldn't effing be there, right? Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why do I feel that way? Number one is that you have an entire industry that really prospers well when you have lots of criminals. And if you don't think that the court system gets kickbacks and incentives to put people in prisons, right? It means that, and I'm going to change gears on it a little bit, but the same vein. Did you hear about the organ donor controversy?
No.
Organ donor controversy is that there was a New York Times article that there were people who were not dead, right? And they were either at the, sort of like the gray area between life and death. And their organs represented hundreds of $1,000s worth of revenue for the hospital, right? If you get a kidney transplant or a lung transplant or a heart transplant, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that can be sold to another patient, and especially if there's a huge need for it. So you have a waiting list of people who are looking for hearts, and you have this person that's near death, like they're close. Yeah. And all you have to do is let them die, and then you can take their heart and jam it in another body and collect a couple $100,000.
I have always heard when you get your license, you're like, oh, should it be an organ donor? People tell me, I am. My family knows I am, but it's not on any documentation because I want them to know I'm dead.
Yes.
Make sure I'm dead.
So if there's an incentive to let you die and harvest your organs, and there's no downside, you're not getting in any trouble, and all they have to do is not pay attention for 30 seconds and let you die the rest of the way. There have been people that have been conscious in this article, pushing the scalpel away from their organ harvesting. And the insistence of the harvesters were to continue with the harvesting in spite of a conscious person on the freaking table.
No.
Yes.
A living, breathing, awake, conscious saying, no, I don't want this.
Can't communicate, but can flicker eyes, push things away with their hands, saying, don't take my organs. The people harvesting continued with the harvesting.
That's like a horror movie.
Okay. So if there is an incentive, if there's a prison that gets paid, the more prisoners they have, and a hospital gets paid, the more organs they have, there's an incentive to let you die. Probability that there are going to be instances where people who would have otherwise lived are allowed to die for the organs that they possess, and people who would otherwise, prison's going to do them no good. They're not society's not gaining an advantage because keeping them separated. They are just a cog in the industry of prisons to make money for someone. What's the pressure that gets pushed against that? High probability there are people, and I'm a libertarian. So if I take the rights away from you, I got to have a really, really good reason and justification for doing it. I want it to go on if I'm not 100% sure, I don't want you going to prison. Mm-hmm. The people I want to be in prison are exactly the people who are being shielded from it in Congress. But the people who deserve to be in prison are the ones that can't behave in society, right? A guy that has marijuana in his backseat that was smoking a little pot, should they be in prison even for one day? Should they?
Not if it's a legal thing.
Even if it's illegal. Someone has pot in their backseat. So
if it's illegal,
they have pot in their backseat, should they go to prison?
I wouldn't think prison. Isn't there jail as an option?
Should they be incarcerated? What is the purpose of incarceration?
It's a consequence to breaking the law.
Okay. All right.
It's a deterrent. Don't break the law or you lose this freedom.
Let's just say your kid. How old's your kid?
He's about to be 10.
Okay. 10-year-old. You have a consequence that slapping him across the face is a consequence for breaking a rule. And so your kid draws chalk on the driveway, totally breaking a rule, right? Do you think the deterrent of slapping them across the face for drawing chalk on the sidewalk is an adequate consequence?
I mean, it seems a bit extreme.
Okay. It's really a really lazy extreme, because as a parent, you would think of something that deterred the behavior, like taking chalk away from you would be a better deterrent than slapping you across the face. It feels like the message is not going to be received from the kid that it is a follow the letter of the all laws, right? Rather than here's something that is proportional, rehabbing you to get to do this single thing. So if you would take someone who didn't follow the rules on substance abuse, did the wrong thing, you should have a punishment that deters the person from doing that action, not just doing all rules and laws, right?
Yeah.
Proportional.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't get the death penalty for having weed in your car.
Okay. So you have a rule breaking jar, $100 every time you break the rule. You have an incentive that you want lots of people to break rules, so they put $100 in your jar. So you're going to loosely, especially if you have control of the judges and the prosecutors and the defense attorneys, are all kind of on the same team, feeding the prison system, right? You want a lot of people to put $100 in that jar. So if you can kind of like, you're almost waiting for somebody to come along to break a rule so that you can pull the lever of put the $100 in the jar. You have an incentive to make that happen a lot. What if we would disincentivize and make it so that you had no incentive and you were just the person who wants the rule of law to be the noble thing, not the prospering from the breaking of the law? You want any financial incentive that could skew someone's decision making for the $100 jar versus just doing the right thing.
Yeah.
In an idealistic world, the right thing should be supreme, and the $100 in the jar should be something like we should be suspicious of, because like that's going to really rock and give you a skewed sense of that.
It's interesting because I feel like defense attorneys sort of get this stereotypical rap of wanting to help bad people, when really, if you put it like that, the prosecutors should get the same rap if they financially benefit off of prosecuting someone and getting them in trouble. It's just an
industry. If you treat it like it's just an industry rather than a machine that produces truth. If you gave me a machine that produces truth, I'm all for it, because everybody in there doesn't even care about the money. They are there to make sure truth is brought to light. But that's not the institutions. They're all just businesses. The business of court, the business of prisons, the business of pharmaceuticals, the business of government. It's all just businesses. It's a bunch of people who are trying to make a bunch of money, right? And they're finding all of the mechanisms within their controls to be as prosperous as they possibly can. That's the long and short of it. The conspiracy theory, the conspiracy of all things, is that people are self-interested and they will use all their tools to make a bunch of money. So find me a poor congressman. Find one who's serving their time and is like just suffering because of it.
Yeah, like, I don't make a lot of money, but I do this for the good of the people and for what's right and true. And you might have someone like that, but they're not going to go far.
Or like you have John Fetterman. Let's make some predictions here.
Okay.
John Fetterman went on Joe Rogan last year, right? And he said, I ran for this seat, and the money that they're paying me barely even covers my apartment. I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Washington, D.C., barely able to stay here, right?
Wow.
And so when you have a freshman senator that comes in and sees that what they're paying you isn't even enough to do this, do you feel like there's an increased pressure to make money in other ways? And if I came into John Fetterman's office, and by the way, my prediction is go 5 years down the line, and if he's not a multimillionaire, not living in a 1-bedroom apartment, right, I will be thoroughly surprised that he will double back on the noble intentions, join the game, because the game means that you make a lot of money if you just take a little, make some concessions on your virtue and decide to play the same game that everybody else is playing. So he has more than $10 million 5 years from now. Bank it. Okay. So back to the original deal. So if he doesn't, right, and he lives in his 1-bedroom apartment, he's doing his duty, he's trying to be as vanilla as he possibly can, and I come through the door and say, hey, John, I want to tell you something. I will fund your campaign, and I will funnel money to you at about $1 million per year, right? All you have to do is take this thing, the Stop Kicking Puppy Dogs bill. That's all you have to do. Is you have to give me support and in the blind 100% vote in my direction. And John's like, I'm suffering, and who can disagree with the Blind Puppy Dog Act? And so all he does is pull that lever and saying, get money and vote for something I would otherwise would. And I'm going to be a little bit blind that I'm basically giving ownership of myself to that guy. Yeah. And then that guy represents help and someone who took pity on my plight and rewarded me with, now I've got a 5-bedroom apartment in the best part of Washington, D.C. I get to go to all the parties, and I get to say that I'm part of the machine. Maybe the next bill isn't the Not Kick Puppy Dogs Act, but if I'm like, oh, you want me to vote for the Pollute the Oceans with Oil Act? I can't do that. And they're going to say, John, listen, I know you probably went through that first $1 million, but if you don't support this, then I got to turn that spigot. I know you say you can't do it. I really want to pollute the oceans with all of my oil, but I'm telling you, the $1 million is sitting there. You don't have to do it, but you got about 30 seconds before I offer to this to the next freshman senator, and then this deal's off the table. You play the prisoner's dilemma against them, and then all of a sudden, John Fetterman really likes polluting the oceans in oil. And absurd example, and I'm sure it's not the Pollute Oceans Act.
Yeah, but
it's something similar. And so you can turn every single virtuous senator against their own ideals, because all we'd create is a trauma situation that every freshman senator we put on, and we show them suffering, and we show them the light at the end of the tunnel where you can be liked, respected, and have lots of money, and put those two things in odds and see how many of them take the bait.
Yeah, because it's almost like you're not even going to matter or be in the game if you don't. How would you? If you're like, no, I'm not taking your money. Sorry, I'm not doing it. I'll downsize. I'll continue to pinch pennies, and I'm staying in this 1-bedroom, and I will just deal with it. You will be fizzled out.
For sure.
You can't get anywhere.
In 100 different ways. They have 100 different ways of corrupting control, whether or not it's threats to your reputation, whether or not it's drying up of money that you depend on, whether it's cutting you out of committee assignments or important roles in government, or if they just freaking off you. So let's take a conspiracy theory of government deciding that you are an inconvenience and you need to be not alive anymore. Do you think the government has the willingness and ability and the history of having people not be alive anymore?
Yes.
Let's just talk on the mathematical probability standpoint. Do you know of anyone who was just killed by the system?
I guess I don't know.
Okay.
That. No.
No evidence. This is not 100% discussion, but let's use the void. Have people disappeared under very suspicious circumstances when they play a role in somebody's outing, or they could share inconvenient data about someone?
Yes.
So it's not zero that you think that somebody has the ability. Now, do you think Nancy Pelosi would take the gun herself and off someone?
No.
Okay. Do you think Pelosi would give it to an aide, and the aide then would turn it over to someone who then would take care of business on their behalf.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that there's a whole group of political assassins, right, that just take contracts from connected people, and they have two obligations: make the person disappear and make sure that it does not get connected back to the person that's signing the contract?
Ooh, maybe.
Possibility, not probably. Possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, just taking the suspicious things. Now, do you ever feel that the people who are really good at investigating something go all out when it means to gathering information and intelligence and turning it over to the people to see if that's what we thought happened one way or the other?
Do I think people were good at that?
Okay, so we'll say we'll use was it Rich? Is that what his name was? Something Mark Rich. Anyway, there was a connected Clintonian, right? That had
Clintonian.
that had evidence, and this Mark Rich, if I'm getting the name wrong, I'm sorry, shot himself in the back of the head twice. Okay, as a suicide.
In the back of the head
twice. Yeah. So, do people when they commit suicide usually take one to the back of the head?
No.
Okay. It's more likely that someone committed suicide for him by shooting him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Right? So it wouldn't be suicide. It would
Was
be
it euthanasia?
I don't know. Maybe he wanted to throw us. It's possible that he wanted to throw everybody off and decide to shoot himself in the back of the head a couple times just to like really throw a wrench into the investigative process.
I guess possible.
Okay. Possible. And
Possible.
that's in conspiracy theory world, we're only taking
And
things
not once,
that are
but twice.
greater than zero. Let me look that up because I
Is
want
that
to see.
Vince Foster? Someone said Vince Foster.
Vince Foster?
I don't know what they said. Vince Foster, anyone? But I don't. Ruled a suicide.
Yeah, apparently self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. What about Mark Rich? Do I have that name just completely wrong? Yeah, I don't think I have the right person at all. Anyway, so yeah, there's been a lot of suspicious deaths that sort of like culminate and kind of orbit the Clintons. And so they get this name, and it's almost in jest that if you know the Clintons, then you better stay on their good side because you might not be here if you are on their bad side, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Plane crashes, double taps to the back of the head, suicides, that kind of thing. And so the possibility, okay, so let's use the other side of the equation is what we're going to do during this. What is the pressure on the other side that would make you and I feel good that the people involved try hard to make sure that's not the case? The investigative bodies and how to the outer, lengths of what they will go to make sure that there isn't that kind of corruption happening.
Well, you would need some transparency.
Okay. What's that mean?
You'd need to know what it is exactly they're doing. Seeing things as it's going down, like show us your evidence, show us the steps you're taking, show us that it was done. I don't know. That would be a start, I guess.
Okay. I'm a Bayesian guy.
What's that?
So when you have small factor, small margin solutions, there's not one incriminating 100% guarantee on things. And Bayesian sort of takes a law of probabilities of you have low percentage things when they add together, they formulate a hypothesis and a standard for when your certainty has been triggered, right? So let's just say your kid, you were suspicious that he shoplifted, okay? And you need to assemble enough of small pieces of information where your certainty level goes above a certain pale, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if they were not in the house at the time that the shoplifting happened, that counts for maybe a 5% probability that they had the opportunity to do it because you weren't there with them. You don't know what they were doing, so you didn't know that they were doing it, but you also know that they weren't doing it.
Mhm.
So 5% chance of a higher probability because they were not there.
Mhm.
Then you have alibis, where people they were with. If they were with someone and the person swears that they were playing Xbox at the time, right? And
Mhm.
it's a verifiable thing that maybe or if there had no alibi, that maybe another 5% gets added. Maybe you were going through their pockets and you found the thing that they were accused of shoplifting, adds another percentage. So they had the means, motive, and opportunity, and they actually had the device. You get pretty certain as you keep assembling small segments of probability.
Mhm.
But there's a tipping point where you're pretty sure. So if, John Smith was a friend of the Clintons and had information in their head that could possibly out them for having done wrongdoing, and there was an accident where someone pushed them in front of the bus, but they survived, and then they survived a suicide attempt next time, and then finally someone double tapped them in the head. You don't know any of that, but the probabilities went up because you basically end to end took a lot of highly unlikely things, had them apply to something, and then you're fairly certain that something is going on where someone wants them not to be, because it's a high probability that they represent a threat and that a lot of really coincidental things happened that ended up not being coincidental, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But if investigators would give you that kind of transparency, they can share that they don't know, but it makes it more likely that a lot of these really mathematically improbable things happened. What is okay? So what is you as a human being being hit by a bus on today, and 2 weeks from now a tree falls and almost hits you, and then somebody hits you, or you commit suicide by shooting yourself twice in the back of the head? What is the likelihood that you were executed or somebody wanted you to die versus that you saw that something was trying to kill you and you decided to just end it yourself?
More likely someone's trying to end you.
Exactly. Okay.
Or it's that Final Destination movie, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aesop said Vince Foster, anyone. Foster. Okay. They've got it. That Foster. Yeah. Read the book Following Orders, The Death of Vince Foster, Clinton White House lawyer, just one in a long line of convenient suicides, like the Obama head chef drowning in a pond in a few feet of water. And if you have here's the second phase of this, because we're gonna have a whole, I think by the end of this year we're having this conversation. So I want to sort of like set it up so that we get used to talking about this. Okay. If you found out, a stupid example, but let's just say your dad, one day you found out that your dad was an assassin. One day, right?
Yeah.
He's an assassin. And so your whole childhood, you didn't know this. And you're like, holy shit, someone I loved, cared for, had my protection all this time was capable of killing other people. Assassin. Does it change your relationship with your dad?
Probably a little bit.
Okay. Now, if your mom found out that your dad was an assassin, do you think it would be noble of her to protect her children of knowing that all this time her dad was an assassin, because of the fallout that how now my children would feel about their dad, how they would have a relationship with the family, how it would skew and destroy everything that everybody holds dear in that family?
Yeah.
Do you think she should withhold it, or should she be transparent and just be truthful?
I could see the mother withholding something for protection. Okay. Like if you don't know, then you aren't in danger. But if it ever comes out that multiple people know. Okay,
your dad's a philanderer and had 19 kids from all different women. And the whole time that they were married, you have a lot of, brothers and sisters that you don't even know. And the whole time he was a sexual deviant. Should your mom say she found out, should she share that information down with the kids, knowing that it'll probably threaten the relationship between all people and remove or threaten the family unit?
Yeah.
Okay. drug addict. Your dad was a drug addict, philanderer, and an assassin. Are we sharing all of this information straight out the line so everybody needs to know what's really going on?
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, oh my God. I mean, it's gonna change, I'm sure, some things.
Okay. So you're cool with it because it's just truth. It was there all along and you didn't know about it, but at least now it can be authentic so everybody can know about it.
Yeah, it's just at least you're not living a
Even
lie.
if you know, your mom comes to you and says, listen, Kelin, you're the oldest. You are in this example. And I'm going to share this information with all the 6 kids that we have, and maybe even the 19 that are on the periphery.
Oh, God.
And we know it's going to splinter the family, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think all you kids need to know the truth. And you're like, you know what? That's the best. We will deal with the repercussions. It's not our fault. We're just going to be caught in the crossfire, someone behaving badly. But yeah, we're all adults enough to know that if the family's going to fall, it's truthful.
Let us decide what we want to do with that information.
Yeah. So if you found out that the illusion of government was just a bunch of people that were using an institution to enslave all the people that they governed and prosper to a level through corruption and could actually kill a bunch of people, right? And and at will, and not only the people could do it, but everybody knew about it and they didn't tell anybody about it. So one day we're going to take all that glob of information and we're just going to tell the American people. The American people are not going to trust the government anymore. The government will fall, and everybody will insist that the rubble that's going to be created because of the truth is definitely worth the truth that everybody needs to know about. Still for it?
Yeah.
Or should we shield the public, right, for the common good so that the government survives the real truth?
See, anything that involves the general public, I tend to get on the fence about.
Why?
My first reaction is, yes, we need to know the truth. Let us decide what to do with that. If it's inauthentic, if it's wrong, let's end it. Let's rebuild and let's make it right. But unfortunately, that just doesn't happen that way.
So the truth should be obscured from the people who can't handle it, because that court scene would have been completely different. Like, you can't handle the truth, which I agree with you, but I'm going to tell you anyway is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Versus you can't handle the truth, so I'm going to give you truth light, and then I'm going to protect you from your own.
Like I wish a group of people that could operate in a rational, smart way. You handle the truth.
You still haven't watched Utopia or read Utopia.
I haven't.
All right, so here's a better example. You got a 5-year-old. Your dad, the assassin, meth addict, philanderer. You have a 5-year-old. The 5-year-old can't handle the truth. So you're going to have to translate it down to something which that person needs to understand the truth, but not be something that is going to be that's going to hurt them, right? They need to be cushioned from how I just said it. If I just say, hey, yeah, your grandpa, he's an assassin, meth addict, philanderer.
Yeah.
Not going to have the same effect.
Yeah.
Do you spare the 5-year-old from the truth if they can't handle it, if they're too stupid, or if they...
Yeah, they're not going to understand. And
yeah.
Yeah.
You are. I'm telling the kid. I'm telling...
I would probably tell eventually.
See, that's where we go wrong, is because we start making asterisks on, we want the truth, right? And then we start making exceptions.
But how do you know someone who doesn't understand?
Doesn't matter. That's not your
concept.
No.
How do you know they're getting the truth?
No, the truth. It's not up to you. You just share the truth. How people handle it, it's not your responsibility. You just say what's real, and if it's up to them to be able to handle the truth. You're not their guardian. I mean, in the 5-year-old.
I was like, I literally am in this case.
But for the people who you don't think it'll hurt their feelings, or they'll feel a different way about it, or they'll become destructive or lose faith, that's not your deal, right? I know you want it to be your deal, and you think that being their guardian is saving them, but when you create an asterisk, let's just say you're a good person, and you create an asterisk that allow you to take truth and diffuse it through something, what happens when the person that's doing the guardianship is not a good person and they're diffusing truth for their own means?
Yeah.
You've just given the license to people to lie for the best intentions for you, but for the worst intentions for you. So the mathematics are, nobody lies. The numbers are the numbers, and let's get people through the frictions of what the truth has, right, or does, make stronger people that are cool with hearing the truth. What if I told you that if you didn't have sex, you wouldn't have to have abortions, right? That's a truth. What if I said that your kids have an advantage in the future if you keep a mom, a dad, you get a high school diploma and whatever? Those are true. Makes people feel bad, but what about people? Then you'll kind of ruin the sort of like their family unit by telling them truth. Fucking good. Like, they need to hear it. I don't get that. Means you don't have to listen to me, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop telling you truthful things because of how it will make you feel. Anyway, go. I'm sorry, I ranted.
No, it's fine. I mean, if you want to take this down a little bit different of a rabbit hole,
take it.
I think of that like when we talk about this whole issue with gender and people who transition. Like, if there is a biological male who transitions into a female and wants to be called her and wants to be maybe known by a feminine name and wants to wear women's clothing and says, this is just how I choose to live my life and this is what makes me most comfortable, fine. But it's when they say, I am a woman. No, you're not.
That's where you make the jump. Okay, so you had Boy George. Was Boy George a boy or was Boy George a girl?
A boy.
Okay. And dressed very feminine.
Yeah.
Dressed like a girl. And the rest of us watched the music that it, and had an appreciation that this is a person that really liked doing that. And we kind of just left Boy George alone and we didn't do anything. Boy George didn't tell us we had to do stuff, and we didn't tell Boy George. That's it. Some people hated Boy George, some people didn't. And it was the perfect relationship with someone who just wanted to be different, didn't make us do anything, and we were completely effing cool with it.
Yeah, I just saw a video recently online, this reel, and it was a trans, I guess you would call it trans woman, man transitioning to a woman. And in the video, this person was talking about, I grew my hair long. I wear makeup. I have had multiple surgeries. I'm doing my chin next. I'm doing this next. I've had a breast augmentation and to look like I have female parts. And he's like, this is the way I choose to live my life. This makes me feel the most comfortable, secure, authentic. I enjoy looking this way.
So be it.
And said, I am under no delusion that I am a biological male.
Yes.
He's like, I know that I am. I can't change that, but I choose to look differently and act differently. And that's what I'll do, knowing what I'm doing. And so that absolutely truth. But when it's no, but I am this thing now. It's like, are we doing them a disservice to just roll with that? Let me just keep rolling with your delusion.
The only time where you break the rules, when you force someone into your own delusion. I'm completely okay with people just doing their own thing, whatever the pursuit of happiness is. But once you get into my circle and start making demands, that's when we have a problem. So as long as you stay on the peripheral and give me the choice to say yes or no, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Forcing, not cool.
I did see another video online. This guy got in a fight with a person. This guy had a daughter in the bathroom, and this clear biological man with long hair and a tube top on and some lipstick and stuff was trying to go in there. And he's like, dude, no, get the hell out of here. And it's like, I'm a woman. I'm going in there. He's like, you're clearly not a woman. Don't give me this. You're not going in this bathroom with my kid. And like, there was this whole fight about it. And it was like,
yeah, that is, let's go back to that animal kingdom that we like to cite.
Yeah.
Primitive states. Do you think that animals participate in homosexual behavior at times?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think they participate in rape sometimes?
Apparently.
Okay. And do you think that if you went in the silverback gorilla cage and they thought of you as a threat, they would rip your arm off, beat you with it, and you would be dead?
Yes.
So these are all primitive deals. So when there's a dad and you walk through the door and you are a threat, if he ripped your arm off and beat you down, he would just be doing what primitive apes do anyhow. Right? You just need to accept it that when you get challenged by someone who sees you as a threat, like all of a sudden, are we going to pretend like the natural scape of things did not suggest the correct behaviors all of a sudden?
Yeah. I kept thinking about this one instance I experienced one time, and I think it stuck with me because I was just unsure how I felt about it. I was in a women's public restroom one time. It was like, I don't know if it was a gas station or I think we were on a road trip of some sort. We stopped to use the bathroom. And my daughter and I go into one stall, and in the stall next to us is a man and his little girl.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed it was his daughter. I don't really know, which I think that's why maybe it stuck with me, as I'm hoping it was, but I don't know.
Well, okay, so you're a dad and you have a daughter, and the daughter has to use the women's facilities. When you walk up to that door, you're like, do I take my daughter into the men's restroom,
Right.
which is a rule break,
Yeah.
or do I go into the women's restroom, which is a rule break?
Yeah.
There's not a good answer to that.
I
But if you're,
know. And I appreciated that he stayed in the stall with her. It's not like he's just standing there watching all the women. You know, he was hidden. It's not like he could see anything. It's not like he was out waiting for kids to come in. Like, it clearly was a man with a little girl, because he's like, I don't know any of these people. I'm not sending them. So I totally get it. I didn't fault him or anything, but it did make me think, like, gosh, I wonder if it were someone other than me, how this would look.
typically, you'll take the girl into the men's restroom, and you will watch in the men's restroom when this happens. We know that this is already an awkward thing for the dad to be able to do, knowing that the young daughter is going. Everybody snaps to attention, goes into dad mode, and protects and preserves the innocence of what just walked through that door.
Yeah.
It is amazing to
Unless
watch
you're
guys
a
do what guys.
Terrible psycho.
Well,
but
every guy in there would tackle you, rip your arm off, and beat you with it. I assure you that I watched something chemically happen in people when one dad is looking to the rest of the tribe saying, I don't want to be doing this, but I have to. You guys all got my back. And then everybody goes on patrol. I love watching men behaving well.
And it's weird to me, I think, and maybe I'm just paranoid, is I get this sense of wanting to make them comfortable. Like, I get it, Dad. It's you and this daughter. This is your only option. By all means, don't feel uncomfortable. We're all parents here and we're all mature adults. And then I can't help but go into this. How do I know that's her dad and this isn't a girl in trouble? You know, this isn't a hostage situation. Like, I can't help but think that too.
And that's good. Like, I think honestly, we should be suspicious of all people, because we, as a tribe, we keep each other accountable for good behaviors. And I wish more people would take it upon themselves to just correct people when they start misbehaving.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not one to share my opinion on anybody's behaviors, but and religion did a really good job of traditionalizing behaviors, right? The baseline was that you behaved a certain way. And when someone was outside of that, that meant that they were delving into temptations that they're going to get you, right? All of those vices are going to get you. And everybody kind of knew that. The wisdom of 1,000 years, every once in a while, you got to step up and say, they might've been archaic, but did they know something that maybe I'm not processing that way?
Yeah.
And it was easier to call attention to things when most things, 99%, were traditional, and only 1% you can eyeball and say, is this off for the sake of being off, or is this off because it's dangerous? Then you'd be able to tell a little bit easier whether, when we're paying attention to something that is off brand or outside the norm, whether it poses a risk to either that little girl or the rest of us in there.
Yeah.
But when everything is untraditional, unconventional, then you're like, everything's so weird that I'm going to keep in my circle, protect my own circle. And all you effers that tolerated that, that's kind of on you. I'm not getting myself involved in the experiment that this is to break the status quo. And then the status quo punches you in the nutsack. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm not part of it.
I saw a kid another time. We were in like a Kohl's or something, some store, and there's this little boy kind of all alone crying. And I'm just like, and I was like, where's your parents? And like, just crying. And someone came up and was like, hey, come on, and was pulling him, and he's still crying. And I was like, and I looked at my husband, I said, give me a minute. And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm following them because I want to know that that's his parent or guardian. Like, I don't want this kid just being taken by somebody. And I waited and watched like where they went, watched his interaction with the adults that he was then given to. And when he seemed cool and fine and this is natural and I know these people, then I was like, okay. But I'm just like, I don't know if that's a mother thing or it's just living in this day and age where you can't trust anybody. But I'm just like, what? Spidey sense. I want to know before I let you just go, like.
Well, let me tell you about a panic moment that I had.
Oh, no. A panic moment?
Yeah. Panic
moment.
I
bet it's scary.
So I'm at a campground, and we were all social with all the other people that were there, and I'm in the motorhome by myself, and one of the little girls, an 8-year-old, jumped up in my motorhome and walked in, and I'm like, everything in my brain is, I'm alone with an 8-year-old girl, nobody else is here. I got to get her the hell. I got to get her the hell out of here. And my brain was in panic mode. Like she was completely innocent, and she wasn't thinking that she's going to put me in a compromising position. Yeah. But I'm like, how do I not be mean to this 8-year-old girl? And I'm like, it's been 10 seconds. Hey, let's get out of here. Let's go. Hurry. Let's go. And I was panicking in that moment to get this little girl out of my motorhome. Because you're like,
how does this look?
Now, right.
Yeah.
And is that an unfairness? I mean, I was doing my diligence because I didn't want the optics of something like that going down, something out of my control. But how sad is that?
Yeah.
That a 40-plus-year-old person being in the same room with an 8-year-old girl could be suspicious to someone who wasn't me.
I have felt that way, not with a kid. That would probably be scarier. But even as a woman, like if I'm seen leaving with a man or around or coming out of a small space, like anything that in my mind, I think I'm being paranoid. Like, oh my God, how did that just look to them? Or what are they going to think just happened? And then I switched to like, I'm so offended that I have to even worry about this. Like, right. You're just going to accuse me of doing something because I was in another room?
I think that's a good thing. There's 2 other instances. I was in a medical facility doing some service work. And in the center of the medical room was drugs, like lots of medications that were on there. And I was the only one in this building, and everybody had left. And I eyeballed that stuff on the table. Like, I'm looking for cameras to make sure everybody knows that I didn't go anywhere near it. I don't want anybody to ever think that I was tempted to go and take some stuff off of this deal. I felt so effing uncomfortable. So the next time that I went there, I said, hey, if I'm going to do this work, can we figure out a way to put that stuff under lock and key? Because I don't feel comfortable being in the same room as it. Because I never want to be accused of something like that.
And isn't it weird how we almost sort of get like hyper uncomfortable about a possible accusation? Like, you wouldn't do it. You know that it's not a big deal because it's safe there. But it's like this hyper awareness of how it would look and having to defend yourself one day. And like, what are these things I can put in place to make sure I know I'm never accused of it?
And it's like one of those unprovable situations. So if I was in that same room and I didn't take anything, but when they do an inventory, there's something missing, and I was the one in the room, do I want to be in that position? I have nothing to gain by sitting next to it, but I have everything to lose if something comes up missing. So how much do I trust that the inventory person or somebody else didn't miscount something? I don't trust them at all. So get the shit out of there.
And I feel for men too. Like we've talked about, is it Pence that won't get in a car with another woman or enter a room with another woman?
Smart.
It is smart. And I know another guy who had said like he has no female friends, none. He's like, I don't need to have a female friend. I don't need to hang out with other women that aren't my wife because I don't need to be accused of something.
Exactly.
And part of me is like, it's smart, but it's sad that it's smart. Like, it's sad that grown-ups, to me, it almost feels like a third world country. Like, we can't be seen in a car together. We can't be seen standing too close together. Even if there is nothing there, the constant feeling of I need to protect myself and my image is...
Can I do my daily blame the secularist rant?
Yes.
Because that's why, like, this is all of religious, right? All of the religious people and all of the religious teachings, right? Try to create a majority of virtuous people so that you're surrounded by a bunch of people who would never in a million years do that. So the secularists took the traditional things and thought that they were so stupid that they set them on fire. And now you're surrounded by secular moralists, people who seek secular morality. And the problem is that everybody's playing by a separate rule book now. So now you have to play defense against all the people where it's not that the virtuous are the majority, the virtuous are the minority. So you have to assume the person on the other table you need to defend against. So they're going to be the idiot. They're going to be the asshole. They're going to be the accuser. They're going to be the one that tags you and tries to blackmail you and lie to you and take from you and whatever. So when we don't trust our fellow men because everybody is playing from a rule book, if you took 100 people in here, right, just randos. How many of those 100 people would you trust to stay in your house with your kids and know that your stuff was protected and your family was protected? How many of them would you in the blind without an interview?
Just randos?
Just randos. I picked 100 people. How many of you would be like, oh, they're probably mostly good. I only have to look out for the minority of them, versus they're probably all going to do something bad. They're either going to break something, hurt something, steal something, or my kids are going to be in danger. What would be your gut response?
Honestly, it would depend on like, where did the randos come from, and
okay,
what are they like?
Well, you would need information.
Yeah.
You would need to either stereotype. So half white, half black. Does that matter at all?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Half of them have criminal records. Half of them don't. Does that enter into it?
Yes.
Okay. Half of them have nose rings, purple hair, and are anti-establishment. Half of them are traditional Christian, went to church last week. Does it matter?
Not really.
Okay. Half of them have a drug habit. Half of them don't.
Absolutely matters.
Okay. Half of them come from broken homes. Half of them don't.
Matters a little bit.
Okay. Half of them are religious. Half of them are not religious.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. Half of them have enough money. Half of them are really poor.
Matters.
Okay. Half of them are critics of yours. Half of them are supporters of yours.
Matters.
Okay. So you can take characteristics that would add attribution to whether or not you would trust them in your own home. And if you assemble just those 10 things that I rattled off, just top of my head, and I'm sure you can even come up with better ones, you would be able to stereotype and push people into a container that if you were forced to do it, you would give yourself the highest probability that no one would get hurt, nothing would get broken, nothing would get stolen, and you wouldn't be put in a disadvantage for offering up your home. 90% of them, ones that you, even though they might not do those things, they carried a too high of a risk to offer it to those ones.
Yeah.
And then there's some that would be almost 100% chance that they would hurt you and you would regret the decision entering their home.
Have you ever seen or heard of the show Couples Therapy? It's like real popular right now. Dr. Orna or something like that. God, I feel like you had to have at least seen her face online. It's like real. I don't know what streaming network it's on, but you can also see clips of it on YouTube. It's a little addictive, and it's literally just this couples therapist woman, and she deals with all kinds of different married couples and people in relationships, and it's therapy. She hears their problems, what they're struggling with, tries to help them. And I can't imagine the level of patience she has to have, because it's not just the stereotypical man, woman, we're not communicating, we're always butting heads, help us. But she even does like the polyamorous couples. There's one, it's a threesome and they're all in a relationship together. There's lesbians, but they're open and they're fighting because one is getting too close to another lover. And it's like all this stuff. And I so badly want this therapist. She does her best to just no judgment, no preconceived notions. This is your lifestyle, and we're going to try to make this work, or at least shed some light on a few things. And I'm like, she's got to be like, did you honestly think this was going to work? Like, did you honestly not see that this was a situation with high risk and that people will emotionally get hurt or whatever? And it's like, we've almost adopted this sense now of just accept everything, throw out anything that makes sense, that would be a high probability of a risk, and just roll with whatever.
So is it a woke show where they try to characterize the fringe relationships as some kind of better than regular hetero?
I've not more accommodating? Seen a lot of it yet, but I don't think so. I think it is just very all couples. It's trying to.
So do you think let's just say I hosted this show and
Okay.
I've got to give uniform advice about people just to be able to get along and to, fix things that are broken and whatever.
Or decide that you need to
Do
part
you
ways.
think that I could be unbiased and not put a heterosexual relationship in a little bit more accommodating or a little bit more a better light than I would what I feel is a conflicted thing where you have lesbian, you have transgender, you have the threesome couples or thruples or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Do you think I could be equal to both of those as just human beings pursuing whatever it is they're trying to pursue? Or do you think I'd be harsher on untraditional?
I could see you as being the type of person that you could remove your feelings about their relationship. You could just give them guidance and advice, but I feel like you would tell them, if you think this was not going to be difficult right off the bat, you're delusional. You know, if you don't understand from the get-go that 3 people instead of 2 is going to be more difficult, or that an open relationship is going to cause different issues to come up. If you don't know that right off the bat, you're an idiot. I could see you saying something kind of like that. Like, listen, no judgment, but you're dumb.
I would actually absolutely do judgment, because I would explain, especially like if we have 1,000 years of history of evolution of human beings and relationships, and we came up with a certain deal. Like it's going to sound silly saying it like this, but if you have to almost inherit the wisdom of people who came before you, right? And so if you watched everybody out on a lake and all of them were in the boat, right? You don't know why they're on the boat. I mean, you can make some jumps to conclusions, but you would be in the boat because you've seen everybody model what in the boat looks like. And you're like, they must know something more than me. Until I figure out why everybody should stay in the boat, I'm going to be in the boat too. And then we get my bearings, figure out why you should be there, maybe, factor some new philosophies into it. And if I decide to get out of the boat, I know that I am breaking from the traditions of being in the boat, and there are probably more risks. If I saw lots of people out of the boat, then I would assume that would be the default. And then I would have to be considering there's a risk to get in the boat. But for now, I kind of know that if I saw a man and a woman, right, and they have different parts, right, and they are biologically connected to one another to make more little people like themselves, right? So that would be in the boat. If I do anything but that, then I'm taking a risk, and I know that it can't be put through the prism of the man and woman child thing. It would be what complication would you have getting out of the boat? Well, now you're in water and in the boat. It carries its own risks. It has its own gravities. It's a different thing. So it's almost unfair. They might be loosely connected, that you're still in a lake. You just happen to be in the water versus happen to be on a boat or happen to be on a tube or skis or whatever. But each one, they're a different thing. So they have to be put through the lens of saying, what are the new risks from not being in the boat? And adequately being able to enable someone and saying, oh, okay, I'm not judging you. You want to be on skis? I'm cool with that. You just can't pretend like you're on the boat, and you have to take all the inherent risks of being on skis and factor them in so that you're safe and have fun and it can be a thing. So here's all the details of being on skis. Here's just the data. You do whatever the frick you want. But the only thing you can't do with me is pretend like you're on the boat. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this one couple in particular. It was a man and a woman, and they were married. And it was just a snippet. I didn't see the whole episode. So but the scene I saw was she had clearly cheated on him at one point. And he was saying, I just don't want to get hurt again. I want a commitment from you, a strong commitment that I'm not going to get hurt, that you were committed only to me. And she's like, I can't give you that. I can't. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in commitment. I cannot give you commitment. He's like, all right, then let's go back to the idea we had before. Let's open our marriage and be in an open marriage. And she's like, no, I don't want that. That's not what I'm saying. And he's like, but then commit to me. And she's like, I can't. You're not listening to me. And he's like, so no open marriage, but no commitment to me. And she's like, God, that's not what I'm saying. And he's like, then what do you want? She's like, I want it to be fluid. And he's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, when does this therapist just say you want to cheat, but you don't want him to? Like, just say it. Why are we dancing around this situation?
Did the therapist say it?
Not in the clip
Damn it!
I saw.
I'm not
No.
watching that show. I'm not watching that show.
I know. Maybe towards the end she did. I don't know. This was sort of like a best of thing that I found, but I'm just like,
Not watching.
oh my God. Now I got to find it. And see what she says. Why don't you just say that you have a commitment
I would like to be in a
issue?
relationship where I can break all the
Yes.
rules, but
You
it
want your
feels
cake
bad.
and eat it too.
It feels bad when other people break the rules, so I don't
Yeah.
want them to be able to
I
do
don't
that.
want you
Deal,
to do
and I would say,
anything, but I
double middle
do.
fingers, no thank you.
Yes. Oh man, it's an interesting show.
That's about it.
That's
We're
about
good
it.
for today.
That's about it. Yeah.
Man, I
this
told
is
you, like,
fun.
I had probably 6 topics, and we went with one, and that's all we did for 2 freaking hours. So thank you
had
everybody for listening.
Others.
What is today? Thursday. So
Thursday.
tomorrow, MLO Bros will be back. We'll catch you next week here in the morning with Joe and Kelin. Have a good one.
Yay.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.